currently pending in the court cert pool is a petition from Kim Davis, the Kentucky clerk of court, who refuses to issue marriage licenses because, in the wake of Obergefell versus Hodges, she would have to issue them to same-sex couples and opposite-sex couples, and she says that issuing them to same-sex couples violates her religious beliefs. Her cert petition asks the Supreme Court to review a Sixth Circuit decision holding that because she was functioning in her position as a state actor rather than as a private citizen, her actions are not protected under the First Amendment. However, in addition to making that request, Davis has also asked the court to, wait for it, overrule Obergefell versus Hodges, the 2015 decision that legalized same-sex marriage across the nation. She argues that a right to same-sex marriage has no basis in the Constitution. I hope no one tells her about executive privilege, which is also not in the Constitution, but whatever. It's going to be a real hard day for her when she gets that news. But this is where we are, folks. Obergefell versus Hodges in the crosshairs, apparently.
So this is not Kim Davis's first SCOTUS rodeo. She is something of a repeat player, having petitioned the court for review in 2020 at an earlier stage of the litigation. There, the court denied cert, but notably, Justices Thomas and Alito took that personally, issuing a statement respecting the denial of cert. They didn't dissent from the denial. That is, they wouldn't have heard Kim Davis's case, but they had some things they wanted to say about Obergefell.
And what they wanted to say was a broadside against Obergefell. So the two justices accused the Obergefell majority of, quote, altering the Constitution and, quote, having ruinous consequences for religious liberty. So this is the first conference at which the court will consider Davis's latest challenge because the court doesn't grant review without considering a case at least two consecutive conferences. That's become the practice. So there would have to be a second conference before we hear about any cert grant if they stick with, again, past practice. So if the justices deny review, however, we could hear about it as soon as Monday, November 10th.
And again, to underscore that there are no new ideas, in related news, on Friday, October 24th, the Texas Supreme Court amended its judicial code of conduct to permit justices of the peace to refuse to perform same-sex marriages based on their religious beliefs. This follows a years-long legal battle involving a McLennan County, Texas judge who faced sanctions and public warnings for doing so in 2019. The court's new rule states, quote, "It is not a violation for a judge to publicly refrain from performing a wedding ceremony based upon a sincerely held religious belief," end quote. I will also note that you could have sincerely held religious beliefs that people of different races should not be married, and this would seem to be okay here too.